Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are coming back to the Bay for Game 5, all knotted up at 2. We are looking at player props here in this one. Plenty to choose from as we come back to the Bay. As I said, we'll have some of that for you. Also want you to like and subscribe to that page so you can also check out that game video we have up for you about Game 5. And we'll continue to have for you in maybe 3 more videos or at least 2 more, right? So we'll see if this one goes 7. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or a DraftKings account, head to FDPicks.com or DKPicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as the props we have for tonight. Nate, let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest storyline for either team is whether Jason Tatum's going to answer the bell. I think you can definitely bet his points at 27 or 28 right now. DraftKings giving you terrible odds on 27. FanDuel giving you good odds on 28. I think he'll be around 30 points for sure. I think he's going to come out aggressive unless that stinger in his shoulder is really something way worse than we've been told. Either way, I mean, he has matchup advantages. We saw what happened in Game 3 when the Celtics were able to work it around, get the right matchup for him, and he got easy looks. The biggest concern with this guy is that he goes to the basket like he's 6'2". And he's 7 feet tall, and he just doesn't understand. Like it's the whole searching for contact thing, I guess. That he's waiting for a foul instead of just going strong and then getting the foul. Yeah. And I'm sure that that's a point of emphasis behind closed doors. And Udoka said publicly he wants him to take more mid-range shots. I don't know if you say that publicly and then you go out and do that, or if he's trying to set something up. In any case, I think Tatum will have a huge usage rate in this game. He's been a little bit better on the road in these playoffs in terms of his pure scoring. He has more assists at home, but coming into this series in 9 road playoff games, averaging nearly 29 points per game. We know what he does after a loss, 32 points per game. 7. That's why the C's are 7-0, and he has really rough numbers in a win. I mean, after a win, 23 points per game, just absurd splits there. So he does feel the urgency. And the last time we were hearing public calls for Jason Tatum needs to step up, show that he is the superstar, the leader of this team, was going into Game 6 in Milwaukee. And he just let it rain. Just an unbelievable performance to carry the Celtics, who needed every single one of those shots. They had nothing else going. So for him to get 35 again, not 45, 35 is plus 380 at DK. For him to supplement that with 10 rebounds and 6 assists is plus 2,200. Those are intriguing specials to me. I mean, I think he's going 42 minutes plus in this game. I think he's going to contribute in a number of ways, and that the Celtics are going to be able to hunt the right matchups, hopefully to install some actual plays in crunch time this time around, instead of just standing around the perimeter and waiting for someone to hoist a 3. And if you do have some organization, then Tatum's going to have a much better fourth quarter than he's had so far in these finals.
Yeah, I concur with a lot of that. I would say also the thing about DraftKings actually is that his 3-point prop there is 3.5 for plus 120. And if you like the points, you got to like the over on that as well. And I mean, that's interesting that they're giving you bad odds on lower points, but then giving you great odds on him to get, more than 3.5 threes. So I'd like to add that as well. And why bet against the trend of what's going on with him and getting at least 30 points in a game after a loss and a big letdown for them last game. Usually comes back with a fierce performance. So it seems reasonable to continue to follow that trend. I'm going to follow another trend here, which is Marcus Smart playing really well. And he continues to kind of get trashed, in my opinion, even from C's media and fans in a way that's like, yo, Marcus shouldn't be trying to take over the game and yada, yada. And I agree, he's always going to be somewhat of a let it fly player, maybe in the moments you don't always want it. But I would also say he had a pretty good shot selection in this last game, and he gave the ball up in the right moments to Tatum at the end of the game and even to Jalen, and sort of played off the ball rather than and would get the ball, calm things down, set the offense up. Someone has been telling him that the C's need a point guard, and I think Marcus has been playing really well. Mostly, though, this is about his over 14.5 points, which he's done 3 times. He has 18, 18, and 24 points. You take away that awful game 2 where nobody on the Celtics showed up. They scored 88 points, and he didn't even get his 33 minutes that he's been averaging because the game was over before the fourth quarter started. So I think this is getting disrespectful for him, to be honest, in that 14.5 points has been the prop the whole series, and he's just, when the C's are at least average for themselves on offense. Then Marcus Smart is a big part of that. And, in his last 8 games versus the Dubs, he's averaging 17 points, 5 boards, and 6 assists. He's shooting 7.5 threes, making 3 of them, shooting 40%. So right there, you got, at the 2.5 threes for him on DK is plus 120. And he's hit 3 threes in 3 games, except for that game 2, which I'm pretty much whitewashing or just throwing away. Because I think the C's are going to have a good game this game, because it's just their classic letdown and then go into a win. And Tatum plays really, really well after those win or losses, but Marcus Smart and the rest of the team do too, as their offense, and clearly they're 7-0, not just because of Tatum. I think even in this series, like I said, take away game 2, 20 points a game for him, 43% from 3-point on 8 attempts a game. So this is, to me, disrespectful that you get 14.5 points as his prop, 2.5 threes as his prop as well, when he's averaging about 8 attempts already and making 3 of them when he's playing right, and so are the C's on offense.
Yeah, I guess it's so low because he's such an outlier producer, and he had 2 points in game 2 the last time we saw him in Golden State. So books are saying, we don't know if he's going to come out gunning in this game, but he absolutely is. Yeah, I mean, he's not shy. He is certainly willing to let fly. I think the criticism is that we're relying on Marcus Smart in crunch time when he is not shooting a good percentage at all in the final 5 minutes of close games. But they are going to lean on him consistently throughout the game to try to wear down Curry a little bit. If Curry's the guy guarding him, he's got to go at him. He's got a 25% usage rate in these last 2 games. So 14.5 points, not that bad. I think because he's an outlier, I think you can take 16 plus, and that's been a barometer for the Celtics. I think in these playoffs, there's something like 8-2 when Smart gets 16 plus, 16, and that's plus 350 at FanDuel, or him to hit 3 threes plus 370. So if you're gonna bet on the C's, you might want to get some extra juice because they're going to need the points from him. And I'm going to stick with the C's, but I'm going to go under here with Al Horford, who Draymond absolutely, when his post game 1 press conference was like, yeah, that's not going to happen again, was specifically thinking about Al Horford. And at some point in the broadcast in game 4, they said Al Horford with that quick release. And I'm like, what the hell are you saying? He has the slowest wind up and delivery on a 3-pointer ever. And he's not willing to shoot it if you're closing out hard on him really at all. I mean, the Warriors are going to have to give him these shots, and they've really just adjusted since game 1. That's why he's averaging 7 points per game with 7.3 rebounds in these last 3 here, and just not even getting attempts. He's 3 for 8 from 3, but that's 8 attempts over 3 games, and under 6 field goal attempts altogether. Only playing 28.5 minutes because his defensive rating is near 110, because he's been just really struggling in the pick and roll to guard Curry and deal with what the Warriors are bringing on that side of the ball. So Horford's points prop is still pretty low, but it's been here for a while at 9.5 points. I would take the under there, and don't mind combining with the points and rebounds. 17.5, just to give you a little more leeway one way or the other. As his value, I don't think it's going to be in filling it up and scoring double digits here for the Celtics. He's going to have to be just kind of a defensive connector and yes, get some rebounds, but I just don't think there's many opportunities for him to find his offense, which I said going into game 1 of the series that I didn't think he was a good fit in against the Warriors and the way they quickly adjust and rotate. And I looked really, really wrong after game 1, but I'm going back to it now after 3 dud games.
No, I still think you were right. I think game 1 was the anomaly, and it wasn't just an anomaly because he shot so well and made more threes than he ever has made. It's because they were wide open. All of Papa Al's threes were wide open, 6 for 10 on 10 open shots, because he has to be open, as you said, because it takes him, 3 seconds to wind that thing up and let it fly. So, I don't see another big game for him. You're right. He still contributes, but the 28 minutes that he got in game game 4 was also a reflection of Robert Williams being available for 31 and a half minutes. And if you've got him on the floor, as they did, especially, in key stretches in the third and fourth quarter, it's because you feel comfortable with Derek White out there, and you still have that one big and Robert Williams, not a good or, average passer, just a non-factor in the passing game the way, unlike Papa Al. But I still think Robert Williams is too crucial to what they do on defense right now, that he's going to be continuing to get those minutes. 3 days off will also help him as well. But I'm going to go finish with my last one here. It is Kevon Looney, spoiler. But before I get there, I've realized that we're going to go through this show and not even say Steph Curry's name in the player props. And I mean, look, 30 and a half points for him. They finally adjusted to, he's averaging 34 and a half in the series or whatever. But a historic performance. We talk about it in the game video, so that's where we'll leave it. But I just want to ask you how you feel about the threes for him, because it is I think it's still at 5.5 right now for him on 5.5 at plus 105 on DraftKings. Yeah. I would almost feel like you could just take that and not the points and get the plus money. I mean, how do you feel about that? If there's
what I would
Steph?
guess is Curry still does score about 30, but it's more like it was in that Memphis series where he's being chased off the line relentlessly, and he's showcasing that floater game and his ability to finish and setting other guys up. I just can't imagine that the Celtics stomach that again, let him have 14 attempts after what he just did. They have to get him off the line. They have to accept the 2 rather than the 3 at times.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a good call. And that was my initial inclination, is like, look, I know that it seems counterintuitive that you have to go over a screen when you're 30 feet from the basket, but you have to go over a screen when you're 30 feet from a basket. The 2 threes that he made where he got fouled, by the way, on the follow through from Tatum, and I think Brown landed on him or whatever. Those threes were ridiculous. There's no other player in history that can make them. But it's crunch time. It's nut cutting time for Steph Curry, and his legacy continues to be on the line every game, as he knows, because the minute he falters, the critics are coming right for him. You got to guard that 3 in the finals. So they're going to be doing that in this game, to your point. I would agree with that. And that's what scares me, is like, if the game plan is not just he can't do that to us again, so we're going to bombard him, then they know that, they're not doing their due diligence, I would say, as a staff and team. So that's got to be it. But at the same time, I think the C's are better and should win this game. So we'll talk about that as well in the game video. But the guy I am going to talk about real quick and finish it with is Kevon Looney, who has stickum on his hands, man. Every time he gets his hands on a ball, it's his rebound. 4 offensive boards once again in game 4. His 14 and a half points and rebounds is what I like. I like it on FanDuel at minus 106, so I get close to even money there. You have to expect more Looney. That's really, this is a bit of a game theory here. He played 28 and a half minutes, and that's in part because Draymond did not play his usual 33 and a half minutes because he came out for the key stretch in the fourth quarter before coming back in and playing really well the rest of the game, but he still is afraid to shoot. So if he's not going to even look at the rim, then you're going to continue to get some good Kevon Looney minutes who can provide more for them in the pick and roll in terms of, being able to set a solid screen and then be a threat down low in the dunker spot. There's a clear correlation that I'm sure Steve Kerr and company are aware of, which is in the wins that they've had in this series. He's played 46 minutes. He's a plus 45 in those 46 minutes. He's 9 for 10 from the field with 18 boards. So you have to play him. His net rating is in the plus 40s or whatever. He's not a liability on defense. He's been able to stay in front of guys and avoid the switches as well, especially because if Robert Williams is able to play more minutes, then there's no way to find that mismatch on the switches because he's going to continue to be able to find Robert Williams to get back to him. So I think it's good to expect him to be on the floor for more minutes, which is good to expect him to continue to be the primary rebounder for the Dubs and get close to double-digit boards, which gets you over that 14 and a half points in rebounds, because he'll definitely be getting 6 to 8 points in this game.
Yeah, it's funny you tie this into Steph Curry, and it's like, how do the Warriors survive the minutes without Looney on the floor? Because that's kind of a storyline in the series, that they're just overwhelmed by the size when they don't have him out there. When they have Draymond at the 5, because Draymond's not playing well, not rebounding well, and Looney's been incredible. He's kept them afloat. And it also ties into Curry because he's the best guy to set screens for Steph. He's the only one setting legal screens, to be honest, between Draymond and Wiggins and GP2 are usually the partners up top with Steph.
GB2.
And every time they're just throwing out a chicken wing or they're throwing out their leg. And I mean, Looney actually was the only one who got called for one in game 3. for sticking out his ass, and he does do that sometimes too. But in any case, I mean, the refs are not going to call this every single time, so he's going to continue to set screens, and Steph will get looks off that. And in some sense, it'll keep the Celtics scrambling if they're trying to get Steph off the line. And then Looney gets the easy buckets, and he's finishing at the highest rate he has in the paint. Definitely love this bet so much that I tried to put it in our show doc, and Josh had already beat me to it. So that is his final player prop pick.
Yeah, it's ours, but because we love it so much together, I'm happy to talk about it. And the last thing I would say is, if they do blitz Steph in this game, and that's their strategy, then Draymond becomes important. But you can have both of them on the floor, and we talk about this in the game video as well, but they actually have the best net rating of any two-man lineup on the Dubs, do Draymond Green and Kevon Looney. So for those saying you can't play them both at the same time because you can't have two guys who can't shoot, I say nay, and I think that you can because they've shown that together. If they do blitz Steph, you need Draymond in there to catch that lob off the double. They're going to blitz him up top. Then Draymond's going to be standing right at the top of the 3-point line, catch the little lob over, and now you've got 4-on-3 with Draymond running. You can still have Looney there in the dunker spot. You're in fine position at that point. So I think both those guys will be important in this game, and Kevon Looney will continue to get his minutes over 30, and that'll help him get his stats in this one. So that is all we have for you in our player props video. Make sure you do check out our game video as well for game 5 and like and subscribe to that page. We're bringing you each and every game, hoping it's 2 more videos after this one, as we're looking for game 7. I think we all want it, and we're probably going to get it. So until we see you next, happy betting.